Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Keys to Success podcast. You have your host, Tilisa Stubbs. And unfortunately, we do not have my co host, Deba, here today. Deba is on a well earned and deserved vacation with her family. And we are going to wish her the best and hope that she just relaxes and enjoys that time with her family because we don't get those often. Okay, so you guys, we're going to be talking about a topic that is not sexy. It's not sexy at all, but it's necessary. And that topic we're going to be talking about today is your accounting and your books. We're getting towards the end of the year, and I know that many of you, because I've been in that same predicament, where we are waiting until the very last month of the year to try to scramble around and try to separate what our personal expenses are from our business expenses. And it becomes cumbersome. And because you're taking a year's worth of transactions and you're trying to create these financial statements, and it's a lot. So I'm going to kind of break it down and show you guys really what it means to be doing your accounting in your books. I know a lot of us don't even know, like, what is accounting? You hear about it, it gives us anxiety, but we don't necessarily know like what we should be doing. And so I'm going to be breaking that down to you guys today. And so one thing that I know for certain is that a lot of us, one thing that we're doing is we have money going into an account for business income, personal income, business expenses, and personal expenses. And the reason why that makes it hard for us to file our taxes, because when you go to your tax preparer, they want to know what was your real estate commissions for the year. Well, if you've got all these different sources of income coming to the account and you don't have any sort of accounting system to account for it, it's going to be difficult to tell your tax preparer what they need to know. So, one thing that we're going to talk about today is the first thing that I think that we need to do is create two different bank accounts. You should have a personal bank account and a business bank account. In your business bank account, all of the transactions that you do to conduct business, if you're a real estate agent, your agent commission should be going into that business account. If you're a wholesaler, those wholesale commissions should be going into that business account. If you have a rental property and you're doing Airbnb or long-term rentals, that rental income should all be going into your business account. And so what you'll find is that you guys have all of this income going into this business account, but you've got personal expenses being charged out of your business account. And that's making it difficult for you to prepare your financial statements. So the first thing that I'm going to ask you guys today is, if you are doing that, which is called commingling funds, you want to stop doing that as soon as possible. Get a personal account, get a business account, and make sure that the transactions going into each of those is supposed to be going into those particular accounts. So when it comes to like when you're going to be filing your taxes, your tax preparer might ask you like, okay, what was your advertising expense for the year? When you have an accounting system set up, what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to connect your bank account to your accounting software. And those transactions every single month, they're going to go into your accounting software. And then at that point, all you have to do is say, oh, okay, Zoom came through for $16. All right, now all you have to do is categorize it. Well, if you're paying for Zoom, what is that? That's like software, right? And so you're going to categorize that under software. Let's say that you have different software that you use or different sites that you use for marketing, right? Well, then you want to make sure that when those transactions feed into the accounting system, you want to make sure that you're categorizing them as marketing expense. So at the end of the year, all you got to do is generate one report with one click of a button, and you can see exactly what your total marketing expense was for the entire year. You can see what your entire payroll expense was for the entire year. So then you can confidently go to your tax preparer, your accountant, and say, here are my numbers for the year. Please file my taxes for me. Okay. So if you guys don't already have an accounting system, there are a couple of systems or software that you can use. One of them that I like in particular is called Zoho Books, and that is Zoho. And Zoho Books will allow you a free trial period. And so during that trial period, try them out, see how you like it, connect your bank account, watch those transactions start to feed through. And if you did have personal expenses and business expenses coming out of the same account, don't like think that it's like the end of the world. Like, you're going to be fine. When those transactions come into your accounting system, there's these things called tags, and you can create a tag that says personal expense or business expense. And every single time that a transaction comes through, you can tag it, whether it's personal or business, just until you can clean up your accounts enough to where that's not happening anymore. But what that's going to allow you guys to do is you can go then and run a report on that specific tag. So if it's just the tag for the business expenses and the business income, then you're going to be able to generate a report just for those transactions, even though you were commingling funds throughout the year. Okay. So a couple of things I want to go over with you guys. When you are talking about what entity structure you need to have, whether it's an LLC or whether it's an S corp, this is what I go off of. If you are in business and your business is making over $100,000 and you're paying yourself, then you need to be filing as an S corp, because you're going to get all these tax benefits from being able to pay yourself. So when you file as an S corp, basically the difference is when you pay yourself, let's say for instance, you're going to pay yourself $2,000 a month, right? You're paying yourself through payroll. Payroll is going to take out all of the expenses that they would, just like as if you were working for an employer. So you might pay yourself $2,000, but by the time the payment hits your bank account, it might only be like $1,700. Okay. But you want to structure it like that only if you're making at least $100,000 a year in your business. If you are not making $100,000 in your business, that's fine. You can still pay yourself, but you're not going to pay yourself through payroll. The way that you're going to pay yourself is called through an owner's draw. And so think of it like this. Your business makes money and you need $500 for groceries. You do an owner's draw where you're able to transfer money from your business account to your personal account for personal expenses. Okay. So there's a difference between using your business debit card and swiping it for gas and swiping it for groceries. There's a difference between doing that versus I'm going to transfer this $500 from my business account to my personal account. I'm going to title it as an owner's draw. So that way the IRS knows, I know that this was a payment that I paid to myself. You guys can do that. And then you can use that money for groceries. You can use that money for your kids' games, whatever it is that you need. And so as you're thinking about this and as you're thinking about which sort of accounting system you want to use, another accounting system is as QuickBooks. A lot of you guys may already know about QuickBooks. Some of you are probably more familiar with QuickBooks than Zoho Books. I don't have any problems with QuickBooks. The only thing about QuickBooks is that it's a little bit more expensive than Zoho Books. With Zoho Books, you can pay $180 for the entire year, and that's it. Versus with QuickBooks, I think it's like $60 a month. And so you can imagine that it starts to add up. But when we talk about like usability and like all that stuff, they do the exact same thing. So if you are like me and you like to be frugal and you like to keep your costs low, then I would look into Zoho Books, which is Zoho. Okay, so what is the whole point of having an accounting system to begin with? Why do you even need accounting? Well, all of those transactions that you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis, if you're doing fix and flips, you're buying material, you're paying for labor, you're doing all of these things. Well, all of those things they're gonna allow you to be able to take a write-off at the end of the year. And so it's going to be difficult for you to be able to write those charges off or those expenses off to reduce your taxable income so that we can reduce our tax bill, right? It's going to be difficult to do that if we don't have an accounting system. And so as those transactions feed into the accounting system, what's happening is you are allowing yourself to be able to create two reports that you're going to need to file your taxes. The first report is called a profit and loss statement, or a P&L, or some people call it an income statement, whatever you decide to call it. I call it a profit and loss. And then you also need a balance sheet report. So you need those two documents in order to be able to file your taxes. The only way that you're going to be able to get those two documents is if you feed your transactions, your banking transactions, into an accounting system. That's the whole reason why there's accounting. So some of you guys may be tracking a lot of your expenses in Excel. That's cool. I'm glad that you're doing something, right? I'm glad that you're doing something. But at the end of the year, it still makes it difficult for you because now you're having to take that large Excel sheet with all these transactions month after month, and you're having to subcategorize them so that you can then create a report to present to your tax preparer. It's a lot more difficult. It's a lot more time consuming. And so what I suggest is get one of these accounting software, whether that's Zoho Books or QuickBooks, have your transactions. You can link your bank. You link your bank and all of those transactions will feed right into the system. So that way you're not having to manually do anything. Now, there are going to be transactions that you can't feed through the system, right? Like for instance, let's say that you just did a refinance. You bought a property, and you fixed it up, and now a year later you're going to refinance that property. So there is not one transaction that's going to feed into your bank that's going to allow the system to understand what it is that you're doing. So with some of those more complex transactions, those ones will actually require you to do like a journal entry, which I'm not going to get into that right now because I don't want to overwhelm you guys. But understand that some transactions, they're not just easily imported into the accounting system. You're actually going to have to journal them. You go to Google, you go to YouTube, you type in what it is that you're trying to do, whether that's I'm trying to record myself doing a refinance, or I'm trying to record myself lending this money out, or whatever it is. Then you can go to YouTube and you can type that question in, and I bet you somebody on YouTube is showing you what journal entry you need to make in order for that transaction to show up correct on your financial statements. Okay. And so really that's really what I wanted to come on and jump on here and tell you guys about today, is just that if you do not have an accounting system already, Zoho Books and QuickBooks, get yourself a free trial. Get that free trial now. And you're going to see once you go to that banking section, it's going to ask you to connect a bank account. If you've got a checking account, you got a credit card, you got a Home Depot card, even whatever, all of those accounts, you're able to connect to the accounting system so that all those transactions will feed into it. Now, remember though, a lot of these software, they will only go back a certain time frame. So a lot of them may only go back 3 months. So like if you're starting today, what are we in, October, September, August? So you guys are going to be able to get July, August, and September automatically imported into your accounting system. Anything outside of that 3-month window, you're going to actually have to go into your bank. You have to download the bank statement, but you have to download it as a CSV file, which kind of looks more like an Excel file. You have to download that file, and then you can still go into the accounting system and import that Excel sheet into there, or that CSV file into there. So like, let's say that you haven't done any of your bookkeeping for like the last 12 months. So starting January 1, 2023, you haven't done any sort of bookkeeping. Well, then that means that January all the way up until June, you need to go into your bank. You need to download those CSV files of those bank statements onto your desktop. So that way, when it's time for you to import that into the accounting system, you have it ready and available. And so I'm going to be hosting a workshop where if you guys need assistance setting up that accounting system, whether it's Zoho Books or QuickBooks, I'm going to be walking you through like step by step, like how to do it. You're going to have your computers out. We're going to be doing each step one by one. We're going to be importing your bank transactions into the accounting system. And all of you guys are going to be able to do this and be interactive with it because these, you guys will have a subscription. So I think you guys will have like a 30-day free trial subscription. So everybody's going to be able to at least start and get their accounting set up. And not only that, I'm also going to give you guys what's called it's called a chart of accounts. And think of like the chart of accounts, like the different categories that you spend out of. So like you're going to have an account for payroll expense, for advertising expense, for office supplies expense, for, you're going to have a chart of accounts for all of that stuff. You're also going to have your chart of accounts that's for rental income and commission income and wholesale income and all those things. I'm going to share with you guys my chart of accounts that I use. And so it's an Excel sheet that you then will import into your accounting software. That way you have the exact same set of accounts that I do, which the majority of you, if you guys are real estate investors, you're going to need all of the accounts that I have available. So once I give you guys that chart of accounts, I'm going to show you guys how you can import it into the accounting system. And then once the accounts are in the system, then that's when you start to connect your bank transactions. Because if you try to connect your bank transactions before you've developed your chart of accounts, when those transactions feed in, you're not going to know how to categorize them. There's not going to be any categories for you to put them into. So that's why you need to create your chart of accounts first, and then pull in all the transactions, and then you'll start to categorize them based on what the expense is. I cannot see if I have questions. Darn it. Normally I'm able to see if you guys have any questions on here. But if you guys do have some questions, then I will, I'll respond after we close out. But pretty much, you guys, that's it. It's important to get your accounting and stuff set up now. Don't wait, because if you haven't been doing it for the entire year, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time for you to sit there and remember where these transactions came from or what they're for. Like even like this month, I'm recording some transactions, and because I'm not doing it on an everyday basis, as those transactions are feeding in, I might have like 2 gas transactions. And I'm like, okay, well, I know that this gas transaction was because I went to this event, but I can't recall what the event was. And I've got to be able to notate that, because if my tax preparer or the IRS decides that they want to audit me, and I've said that, oh, I'm using this money for travel expense, right? I spent $300 on a travel expense. I went to a conference. Well, I've got to be able to show documentation that I actually went to a conference. So I'm going to need to show like the registration that I actually paid for a conference, my flights, if I had a flight, my Lyft, all those things. So if I have several Lyft charges in my business account and I'm trying to categorize them in the right categories, it's going to be difficult if I haven't done any accounting from January all up until now. It's going to be really hard for you guys to identify, dang, what was that why did I spend that $20 on Lyft? What was you don't want to have to go back and try to figure that out. Okay. And then another reason why you guys want to have that paper trail is because we're taking personal vacations, but we're also taking business trips as well. And for those of you who are using the same debit card to pay for business expenses and personal expenses, it's going to be hard for you to justify, that you spent $2,000 on this business trip, and you don't have any sort of documentation showing that you actually went on a business trip. And so just keep that in mind, you guys. for those of us who are commingling funds, which is, we're not going to be doing that for much longer. We're going to set up, right? That's what we're doing. We're setting up multiple accounts, personal and business account, so that you guys can use your personal debit card for only personal expenses, and you can use your business debit card for only those business expenses. That way we can get the proper write-off so that you can reduce your taxable income, because that's the whole goal. Like, that's the whole reason why we're doing this, because we want to be able to reduce our taxable income so that you don't have to pay a big tax bill at the end of the year. And if you're not doing it right now, you're going to end up paying more money to the IRS. And as real estate investors, that's not what we're in the business of doing. We're not in the business of spending more money, especially when we can prevent it by setting up our accounting now. So if that's you, if you are needing your bookkeeping done, if you haven't even gotten started, you need to be at my workshop on November the 11th. We're going to be going from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. and we're going to be covering a lot of stuff. But by the end of that workshop, you guys are going to have an accounting system, and you guys are going to know how to manage your own bookkeeping. And then after that, if you want to hire somebody else to do your bookkeeping for you, cool. At least you know what they're supposed to be doing, right? At least you know that they're not stealing money. You know the ins and outs and the intricacies of your accounting system, so you can feel confident when you do bring anybody on. So anyways, you guys, that is what I have for you. I know that this was just a quick episode, and I do miss my friend today, but if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. If you guys are interested in coming to the workshop on November the 11th, it is going to be virtual. Go ahead and either DM me or let me know in the chat, and I'll send you guys the link to register on Eventbrite. So as always, I always love having you guys here. And so let us know what else you guys want to hear. I know tax season is coming up, so if you guys want to hear more stuff on how to prepare for, 2023 taxes, let me know. But anything that you guys want to talk about, me and Deba are always more than happy to bring up the conversation. So subscribe. I'm gonna be getting on y'all too. Y'all better subscribe, because I be seeing y'all on here watching, and then I'll be looking, I'm like, okay, but they didn't subscribe though. So yeah, I'm gonna need y'all to go ahead and subscribe and support your girls. And yes, we will see you guys next week. Bye.